But he really is he's the only candidate that I ever won coming from the opposition to beat the incumbent. So Buhari is indeed a phenomenon.
Indeed, he is. You spoke there about his tenacity of purpose, talking about his desire to become the president, and so much so that it's famous that he actually had to travel that road 4 times before he finally got success. So the tenacity of purpose is remarkable. But you also spoke about him having to transition from being a soldier to becoming a politician. So the tenacity of purpose that he displayed in seeking the office, people had thought that that same tenacity of purpose would have been brought to bear with one of the sore points we have in Nigeria, that is that of corruption. And I don't know, maybe it has to do with coming into office, having to be in a political office, but there are those who were a bit disappointed, perhaps. I don't know, you give me your impression, were disappointed that the Buhari they thought they knew that the war against indiscipline that you have mentioned already, that things were going to be different. But do you think the tenets of democracy, particularly rule of law and all those kind of things, where the former president sort of, it seemed, let matters lie, that is, go through the proper recommended processes? Rule of law is what I've been told, and I know myself, is how we have to proceed from now on. But there were those who felt that he probably gave up a bit. Say, look, I'm not used to working in this sort of a way. I know it, you know it, but now you're bringing the law in the middle of things, and once the law comes into the middle of things, the wheels of justice can grind so slowly. With due respect to you, Barrister Cargo, I know that's your territory altogether, but please go ahead, sir, your commentary.
Yes, I think a lot of perspective have to be put in. You see, when he was a military junta, it's just clear he has no impediment to what he needs to do, and there are no proper processes of rule and law and respecting the rights of others. Now, historically, when you look at the world, there are a lot of nations that have developed in such a situation. Even take China, for example. And when you look at Singapore, Lee Kuan Yew was not that very loose when he brought them from being a third world country to a civilized nation. But all the same, I'm happy with where we are. Traveling that train in a political terrain, I think is important. But one would understand that Buhari will not have the opportunity to execute what he has executed as a military ruler freehand under a democracy with constitutional issues on the ground. We are not faulting the law, but I have to tell you, fighting corruption when he was elected, before he became a president, as an ordinary citizen, I wrote to him through the chairman of the party, because I know if you fight corruption with our court system and our system on ground, I don't think we can make headway. I wrote the letter to him. I don't know, I have made some suggestion. Sorry for stating this. I think the issue of corruption for Nigeria is one that transcends the issue of the courts alone. It's a realization which this country must come to. I mean, a mindset and realization. We have to agree that corruption is de facto. We have to first of all agree that corruption is de facto in Nigeria before we can solve it. And what I suggested then was a similar thing that happened in South Africa after the apartheid. You know, there was a truth and reconciliation that was done, where people purged themselves from the ills they have done, and the truth and everything was stated, and it helps the nation to move ahead. I believe if Nigeria, we could come to agree to that, I think we can make way forward. So I think the system is not that very helpful. and a tree cannot make a forest. So I think that's why he could not make a great headway when he became a civilian president in that regard.